Mendrisio. Allora, niente, volevo presentarvi che ospitiamo stasera allo studio GRAU, un giovane studio di Parigi, che vengono qua a parlarci dei loro primi progetti. Ci interessa perché sono più o meno come noi e niente, speriamo che ci coinvolgano con quello che stanno facendo e con quello che stanno anche iniziando, quindi questa energia creativa nuova. E quindi sì, posso ovviamente ringraziare i nostri sponsor, come sempre, siamo quindi UBS, Gruppi, Sala Ferramenta, il centro che ci permettono di fare tutti questi eventi, siamo riconoscenti. E niente, diamo la parola a Ido e Anthony. Buona fortuna.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to be here. Thank you, Mendrisio School of Architecture. Thank you, OSA or OSA. Thank you, Guido. We met you last year during a common project, and it was very interesting. So now, GRAU is an office of 4 architects: Ido Avissar, Erwan Bonduel, and Suzanne Eliasson, and myself, Anthony James. Erwan and Suzanne are not here today. We are working in Paris for 3 years, so we are quite a young office. So about the name GRAU. GRAU means grey in German. Nobody speaks very well German at the office, but actually we take the name from a painting of Gerhard Richter, and we take the color of the grey. For us, the grey is a sort of common basis which we can share, and also it allows all the other possibilities of the grey, like this painting of Gerhard Richter. We are working on architecture and urbanism. Even if today we are more involved in urban projects, we also think that architecture and urbanism are 2 different disciplines, because it's not the same process, it's not the same job, but we are convinced also that architecture, there is a lot of porosity and exchange between these 2 disciplines. So the presentation is organized in 3 parts. The first part is drawing plus text. The second part it's about city, and the third part about architecture. So the first part, drawing plus text. When we started to work together at the office, we needed to communicate between us, and very quickly we developed 2 languages: the drawing and the text. Drawing is show what the text cannot say, and the text it's just the inverted. And we like this picture of Luigi Guiri, because for us the text is a powerful tool to express an idea in sort of very transparent and very horizontal way. And sometimes during the project we made drawings and the text separately, but they are never not so far from one another. Then we like to explain. We like to try to explain how we draw, and we like to introduce you also Elstrauss Kelly, which is an American painter. His work is very interesting. When we draw, even if our design seems abstract, we always try to be connected to the reality. And for that, just a short story. When Elstrauss Kelly, when he was young, used to live in Paris, near this bridge. And one day he saw that the arch on the left formed a sort of black shadow, a black shape. and the reflection of this shape on the water was also black. So he returned home and started to draw, to combine the two forms in a single shape, and then he painted it in white. What it seems interesting here is that this drawing or this painting gives Plus fort. Okay. Sorry. This drawing or paintings gives clearer perception of the reality. It's not better than reality, but it's more clear. Second paintings of Ellsworth Kelly. What is interesting here, there are three things. The first is the plan, the second is the space, and the third is the color. The plan is the painting, the space is the shape, the perspective, and the color is blue. And as architects and urbanists, we used to work at very large scale, and often the question is how we can capture some such a big things like a territory or like a lake, for example, in our office on an A4 paper. Yeah. Another drawing of Ellsworth Kelly. At the office, we are not looking for a unique style. It's very. There are a lot of liberties to draw. Sometimes drawing are good. Sometimes they are not so bad, not good. It's not necessary to produce very good design. It depends really on the context, on the condition of the project. And if we use abstraction to communicate or to communicate between us and with the client, it's not in order to be blurred. It's more in order to precise what we would like to do.
Yes, so this is the first project we will show you. What we will try to do today maybe we show 6 or 7 projects, but very briefly. So we won't really explain how it works, but only each time a certain side of it or a certain question. This is a project we started maybe 2 or 2.5 years ago, together with 51N4E and with Frick Persin that teaches here. It's a project for the city of Bordeaux that you see here, with all its outskirts, all the urban footprint. And the question was how to build 50,000 new houses in Bordeaux. So they launched this competition knowing that the offices that responded to that won't actually build the 50,000, neither even 500 or 1,000, but we needed to reflect on where to put these houses, which kind of houses, which qualities, how much money, which construction system, etc., etc. So the question, it was neither completely architecture, neither completely urbanism, but going from one to the other, from the scale of the metropolis to the scale of the single house. So this is a question we like a lot in the office. Of course, there is a gap between the two scales, between the scale of the unique house we live in and this scale. And so for us, we needed to find a means of representation of how to speak about the house or about the living, the domestic, and the metropolis in the same way. So these are the drawings, for example. We started with forming 4 hypotheses of work. These hypotheses were just, let's say, on the beginning, after one or 2 months of working. And I can say that, I don't know, 2 years after, they all are still valid, although some of them were a little bit twitched. The first one is maybe the most abstract. It's what we call housing plus transportation equals city. So as you see, there is the drawing and the text. So what is for us the hypothesis is the two of them combined. The text which is very horizontal and non-dogmatic, completes a drawing which is says other things. What does this hypothesis say? Actually, is it was Aldo Rossi that said once that the city is architecture and monuments. Rainer Banham afterwards, when he went to Los Angeles, said that in Los Angeles monumentality was transformed into mobility. So we actually just combined the two of them, knowing that Bordeaux, or the outskirts of Bordeaux, were just much like Los Angeles. And so for us, housing plus transportation is, let's say, the basic ingredients. And when you have houses connected to transportation, maybe it's actually enough to say that it is a city. And when the house is really connected to transportation, you can say that you are living not only in space but also a space-time with many different possibilities. The second hypothesis was what we call territorial predominance. Actually, we saw, as in the drawing, that the city of Bordeaux were like two movements. The first one was very radiocentric and going towards the center, as every old French city, with the tramways and the boulevards that are going towards a single point. But when we see on the outskirts of Bordeaux, we see a very acentric, horizontal movements of houses just going inside the forest. For us, it was important to try to combine them and try, when we build in the outskirts, because the question is mostly about the outskirts, to refer to the territory as some kind of cultural common reference, and to build not in trying to imitate what is in the city center, but trying to develop a new vocabulary which talks with the territorial scale. The third hypothesis was scales of mixed use. The idea here was, you know, I don't know if you know, but in France there is some kind of obsession about creating mixed use neighborhoods. It is reference to the 60s and 70s when we built Grand Ensemble and very residential areas. So today, for municipalities, it is important when we create a new neighborhood to have everything inside, just like in city center. But we know that this is not, it is not always possible, and it can be interesting knowing that we are connected to transportation to have sometime only pure residential, quiet, green, open areas which are connected to different polarities and different areas on different scales. The first hypothesis was maybe the most concrete one, most architectural and spatial one. The idea was only to radicalize what was already there. That means that the outskirts of Bordeaux, it's only horizontal urbanism that is just beneath the canopy of trees. So we wanted to create new densities, new houses with small gardens, which are just one level or two levels. And beside that, big objects, emerging objects that have a visual connection to the territory. And so the two typologies can have different relation to the territory. The small ones have their own garden, and the big ones have a visual connection. And so actually, what is built today in the periphery of Bordeaux is mostly 4 or 5 levels, which are just like the city center. So what we say is to stop this and to do mostly horizontal or vertical. Afterwards, we did these models which are kind of strange. It's the 4 hypotheses, but transformed into space a little bit. The idea was to try to work with the ambiguity between a territorial scale and a very domestic scale of living. So afterwards, it becomes kind of complicated. I will not explain everything. There was a very complex and delicate cartography on the scale of the metropolis to find where can we build, and 4 kind of concepts or operational tools that allowed us to choose on which can we operate. Maybe I can just explain one of them. It's the one that you see on the top left, grapes. The idea here was to, let's say, find some free spaces, open spaces, where we can build in, which are maybe 300 or 400 meters from one another. And that permitted us to have a kind of economy of scale, building 3,000 or 4,000 housing in a small perimeter, and maybe programming each one of the different fragments with another program. One can be only housing, another can be free open green space, another one can be a swimming pool, another one could be more dense housing, and so with only one's bike you can just pass from one to another. These are just the different layers that goes with each concept. And so in the end, this is the closest we got to some kind of master plan. What you see on the right is the scale of the metropolis of Bordeaux with all the different concepts. And what we showed here was how can we, with different concepts, build more or less housing, and it's politics that choose afterwards. And what was very important for us with this kind of big scale was to work on the very small scale with what we defined as the toolbox, which were interesting typologies we can develop in the territory. I will not get into detail, but just to explain a little bit the method, we started with constituting some kind of corpus, which is maybe 20 references, which are the most, for us, interesting for the Bordelese context in terms of economy, of climate, of many factors. We took these buildings and we just, let's say, transformed them. A little bit of bricolage, according to French legislation, according to climate, to economy of project, to construction system, to many factors, and we just transformed them. What was interesting for us to say is that in this kind of project we are not actually designing architecture. It was out of the question to imagine 50,000 Villa Le Moine, or I don't know which kind of typology, but so there is no author, to just take these projects which are interesting and to transform them, and afterwards they can create a city from going from the inside of the housing to the exterior. And so they define different relation with public space, with green space, with other buildings. This is, for example, a plan that we did 1 month ago on one of the sites we are working on today. And so you see that this is very important, that the project is really designed from the interior and the typologies towards the city.
Last year, we were invited to participate in a workshop in Gothenburg. 10 international teams were selected to reflect on the sustainable future of the city. The workshop was in this famous building during 1 week. It's the Asplund City Hall in Gothenburg. It's a very beautiful building. To briefly explain the problematics, it's a prospective project on 70 years. In fact, in Gothenburg, the port moved in direction to the sea, and it generates a lot of available ground in the city center, something like 4 square kilometers. And also the economy is in mutation. They need more jobs, more housing. And there is another important issue, a global issue, is that the UN predicted that in 100 years the level of the water rise from 1 meter. So considering this issue, we started to make some case studies of cities which are linked with this question of water. We are close to the water, and in order to observe the answer to this problem. So we selected 11 cities like Jakarta, Bilbao, New Orleans, Venice, Bordeaux, Amsterdam, Riga, like Hamburg, for example. I don't want to go into detail, but Venice, everybody knows the problematic in Venice, Jakarta. So all these cities on the left, with Venice, St. Petersburg, Hamburg, again Amsterdam, and Jakarta. They are all around this blue circle, facing to the same problem of the rising level of the water. This drawing is important for us to start the project in order to say that Gothenburg is not alone faced to this challenge. This is the city of Göteborg. As you can see on the picture, the city is really fragmented. The reason of this fragmentation, there is three reasons. The first is the river. The river is very large, and the second is infrastructure. The infrastructure in the city was planned for a port and not for a city. And the last one is the topography, which is really present. There are a lot of valleys, a lot of rocks also in the city. So we designed a map of this fragmentation, of all the fragments. We selected 4 fragments in the city center, which are in black here, and we try to explore the potential of the fragment, because we don't like fragmentation. It's not something good a priori, but when we have no choice, we like to explore this potential. And so for the project, we push all these fragments in its own specificity and qualities in terms of new densities or in terms of programmatic condition. And each fragment, you can see the 4 fragments here and there, they produces their specific energy also, like heating or biogas or solar city cooling system, and they produce more energy than it's necessary, and give the rest to the other one. Some pictures of the 4 fragments. Then we developed also a toolbox again. Infrastructure can resolve a lot of problems, like continuity, for instance a bridge, or also to protect from water. But it costs a lot of money, and if it was not a good choice to put a big infrastructure in the city, we have to live with during 100 years or something like that. So we thought about 2 kinds of design: soft design and hard design. This is the soft design part. This is an accumulation of little machine which can produce continuity and also energy in order to go from the ground to the river. For example, the first one is a rotating bridge which can let the boat go along the river and just turn 19 degrees to become a bridge. Then the master plan, in blue the water, in red all the toolbox in the machine, like a sort of living system, and in black just the hard design, which means infrastructure or wall protection, for example, for the fragments on the top.
Yes, maybe just to say another word on the Göteborg project. We did it with Lars Lerup, maybe you know him, which is a little bit old urban thinker and theorist and architect that lives in the United States and that wrote a lot about Houston. So we did it together with him and with other consultants, and this is someone we like a lot, surely one of our masters, and that we that's all. Yes. Second part is about the city. So of course we don't have like a theory of the city that we will expose to you. We're too young and we don't have much time for that. But maybe just 3 images in order to maybe talk about the city in which we work. Of course we work in different cities, but most of the time we don't work on city centers. We work on something which is very kind of weak context. And we choose not to oppose the city center and the suburban parts. It's very important for us not to refer when we work on suburban parts, not to refer too much to the city center, not to imply things that we like in the city center on the outskirts, and so try to find in each time that we work on a site or on a city fragment or something, the own specificities of each one of them, the own method to draw them, to express them, to transform them, and to work with. For example, this I think you know, Edrusha, but only this reference, for example, is very interesting for us on the process it provokes, because this is what he defined as the as-found process, in which he is interested in something, which is, for example, the gasoline station. So afterwards he does a work of collecting many gasoline stations, taking them by picture, after it's arranging them, and after glorifying them by painting. This is a little bit like what Shkolovsky, which was an art critic from the Soviet Union, said once, that art or avant-garde in art is about taking peripheral forms from the periphery and trying to transform the way we look at them. So for us it's very important to work with what is doing the outskirts of the city today, or when we work in Bordeaux, for example, or in Gothenburg. That means the bus stations, the bikes, the activity factories, and all of these weak elements, which is important for us to compose drawings with that. And maybe last strange reference, Agnes Martin, this one is called The Tree. All of her painting is quite not the same, but they are same style, let's say, and all of them have names from of nature. What we like about it a lot is let's say the repetition, but the fact that she draws with her own hands. That means that all lines are slightly different, a little bit like the waves when you look at the sea, that all come in the same rhythm but with different shapes each time. And so what is interesting is her relation to nature and the way that she produces abstraction by saying what she's doing is only classical painting. That means she draws nature or the effects of nature, and so for drawing natural living elements she needs abstraction. And I think this is something that for us a great inspiration. For example, she said, "My paintings have neither object nor space nor line nor anything, no form. You wouldn't think of a form by the ocean." So for us, when we are walking on the contemporary city, this is something which is of great inspiration. Next project, this one is very complicated, Guido knows very well, but we will just pass through, just to talk maybe a little bit about the method, which was very rigid and strange. The question here was to do a very big master plan in Bordeaux for a new neighborhood just near the railway station, because Bordeaux is today like 4 hours from Paris by train, but it will be 2 hours with the new TGV in like 4 years from now. So everyone is speculating about we can do many projects and many offices and all of that. So we did this competition for a master plan that we didn't win. It's for a very important quantity of program on a kind of junkyard, because today what you have there is small houses, small factories, not much economy, very lazy kind of city. When you look at, so in the Bordeaux context, you see that all of the projects put together, it's around 10 million of square meters, which is enormous for a city like Bordeaux. And so there is some kind of competition between all these projects. The 50,000 dwellings we are doing right now, this competition which is called Or Atlantique, and other projects in which very famous names are working on right now. So what we understood when we read the brief was that, let's say, the people that were organizing this competition, they already negotiated everything before launching the competition. So for them it was highly important that we respect the brief, because they bought ground here, and they know that here it's expensive, and they know that here you can put this and here you can put that. And so if you come with like a big concept and you put it on the card, it's not even interesting for them. It's not even it doesn't have any value. So we wanted to play ping pong a little bit with the brief, and we pushed it to a certain limit. What we did is like taking this brief, which had 44 points, and actually trying to analyze each and every point with text and drawing, trying to draw each point and draw each and write each of the points. And afterwards we left like 2 empty pages beneath in which we wanted to actually do the project, just respond to the brief in an almost autistic, radical way, to just push it to a certain point. And so this is our office, by the way, and this is the way we actually try to work with. And we said to ourselves that with these 44 points, actually we put 4 points more at the end. We can actually, this can be almost enough, actually. This is a nice reference of John Cage, but maybe it's too complicated in this context. But when we get really deeply into the brief, we saw that maybe half of the points, 22 or something, were very specific. That meant that we should, for example, put a water pump here, we should put this here, we should have a promenade along the Garonne and all of that. So that designed this kind of strange shape that you see on the top. And on the same time, the other half of the point talked about an idea of the city, that you have to have a school, let's say no more than 300 meters from your house, that you have to have a parking every 100 meters, that you have to have small parks and all of this and all of that. So this designed potentially some kind of isotropic grid in which can be almost endless. So we thought it would be interesting to try and design this kind of grid or work on it. So these are the 5 city fabrics we worked on, we developed. All of them integrate all of the demands, let's say, of the points. So I won't go into details, but they're very, very different. The first, for example, is small houses and small towers. It's called 50-50, and so on, so on. These are the final points, actually, as we showed them. Each and every point is expressed by an attitude, which is the text and a drawing. And actually there is a real connection between the way we draw them and the way you can find it on the plan afterwards. For example, this point that asked to build a mosque somewhere which is visible from the other bank, but not too visible anyway. Kind of complicated, but as you see, all these points can be found on the plan in the end. It's kind of what is actually designing it. This is only the program plan that we kind of like, because maybe it resembles a little bit Richter color chart. It's was important for us to draw also the different colors of the program of the existing city all around it, and the relations between what we created and what is already there. And this is only a last inverted plan. We like it a lot because it maybe talks about the continuities between the very small and fragile city that exists and what we are going to build. And it does this continuity with city fabrics rather than with infrastructure.
I'd like to show you another project in the city of Royan. It's on the north of Bordeaux, which is a very spectacular city, exceptional. Actually, the city was bombed during World War II and rebuilt after that. So that's why the city is so spectacular. You can see on this picture 2 main directions. The first is the axis from the territory to the ocean, and the second is the line, the waterfront line, which is curved like that. And it's really spectacular because it's a sort of demonstration as architecture, as urbanism. And this building is something like 600 longer meters. So we were invited to reflect on the city center and to think about its future and how we can work on it. So in the city center you have a lot of beautiful buildings like that. You have really the feeling to be in the 50s. It's really impressive, and Jacques Lucan, which is a famous critic and historian of architecture, used to say that it's the 50th city in France. And it's true that it's a postcard from the 50s, but it's true that you have this feeling. And if you just go a few meters from the outside from the city center, you can see on the top of the picture that there are a lot of generic houses, very low. The city is more rich, so there is a sort of strong rupture between the city center and the rest. Another postcard. So everybody in Royan are focused on this idea of that the future of the city is the 1950, and so for us it was a little bit curious because today the city center is not declining, but it's not very attractive compared to the suburbia, the other part of the city, which is more accessible for people to live, and there are a lot of qualities in the territory also to live with. So we would like to enlarge our vision and to have a sort of critical distance to this city of the 50s, and for that we started to draw some step of the city from the beginning in order to understand the layer of the city and why today the city is like that. So we draw 16 steps. The first one is the strategic location. You can see Bordeaux. It's on this picture. And Royan is at the estuaire de la Gironde, on the top of the
Estuaire.
Estuaire, exactly. So the strategic location. Then Royan was a fortress, demolished the first time. Then later the territory was very attractive, so people come from Paris or Bordeaux to profit of the territory quality, like the baths or also the nature. But the city was not it was not a city exactly for the moment. It was more just leisure. Then the city was bombed in 1945. 85% of the city was destroyed. And this is the new plan after that, in 1948, which is quite strong. And in the 60s and after, step by step, the suburbia take more and more importance. And little by little, the original building or master plan was a little bit demolished. So this is our proposition, our layer. All this red form of the city are interesting for us in order we discover that, because when we draw it's in order we don't know what we like to say, but it's a sort of research by design. It's in order to show that sometimes strong events like a war or like a new plan, a new strong plan, are really visible and they change the city. We can see that. But also there are some events which are invisible, like the suburbia or like the territory quality. And they really change also the form of the city. And for this all this reason, we decided to work on fragmentation with the project. We don't want to make a project, a total project in the city center, because there are already a plan of the 50s, but we prefer to make some project at the limits of the city center to have more connection with the rest, with the suburb. And this is just a picture of Barbican Center, which is a success of post-war architecture. We like the building and all the people, the cultural also events inside. And it was certainly a good reference for wine. Then it's our proposition. We work on the postcard, the original postcard of the 50s, because it's really present in the city center. And we start to make the project in this way. I don't want to go in detail to explain the project, but this is the first plaza, the red plaza. Then a second plaza, which is blue inside the very long building. And to finish yellow plaza in order to reveal the existing auditorium, which is this building, which is also quite incredible.
And also for this project, you see the old cars that are here. It was very important for us to keep the cars. Let's say the city was designed in the 50s for the car. And today the question they think about is maybe take the car a little bit outside and give all the monumentality to pedestrians. So it was important for us to act on very small public events and to leave a lot of place for the car. So we can say we like cars, or not much cars, but let's say the idea of the car or of personal mobility, bike, car, train, anything. This is a great reference for us. Maybe Master Cedric Price. What do you think about? We like a lot the project and also the image, because this is actually a campus, but we cannot see architecture at all. We are somewhere, let's say, in the halls or the lacuna of the master plan. And so the way that our vision of the city or our perception of the city changed with mobility is very important for us. This is, for example, almost the same image by Lee Friedlander, an American photographer, which is quite old right now. These are some of the last pictures he did these 5 years. He can actually no longer walk, I think, so he's inside the car and he's taking a picture from the inside to the outside. It's also interesting the relation between, let's say, the 90s or today's plastic of the car and the roughness, let's say, of the American landscape, which is outside. And this, in his pictures also, there you have the feeling that everything goes, or that more you have things inside, better the thing is, and never you can see an object or a person or a car or a city fragment in its whole. So it's always cut, and it produces some kind of very complicated vision, which is a little bit like Piranesi's plan of Rome, in which everything is colliding and no real system takes let's say, puts the other systems inside. So this is something which is important for us, and I don't know if it's really connected, but in this project, which is for a cemetery in Stockholm, it was a competition, one of the first projects we did together. So here you have actually almost no city. It's the real far outskirts of Stockholm, and there is no city to make because it's only a cemetery, so only for dead people who will move here. What was interesting for us is, let's say, to look at this landscape or nature and to try to understand it, and very quickly we understood that it was as complicated or as complex almost as city center. When we looked at the vegetation of the trees, it was very important for us to draw the real trees that were there at the right scale. And so we found out that there was many different fragments, and each fragment had its own slope, its own ground, its own trees, its own space, its own potential. And it wasn't only an intellectual or something we like to do, but it was also a pragmatic choice, because in a cemetery you have to be, everything must be very accessible. There are a lot of old people that go there, or people that are in wheelchairs or something. And as this is very accidental topography, it was very important to create some kind of smoothness and in the site. So this was actually the plan for the first phase, knowing that the cemetery takes 100 years of time to get filled, or anyway this cemetery. So this is for, let's say, the first 5 years. What you see here is kind of a round road that connects all the different fragments that work together. It was very important for us, for example, in view or in comparison with the Asplund beautiful cemetery of the center of Stockholm that was built 100 years ago for a very homogeneous Swedish society in which everyone was Protestant and everyone was buried in some kind of continuous society and continuous space. Here it's much more complicated. We are in the far outskirts of Stockholm. 85% of the population are immigrants, and to work with the territory in a contemporary way and to try to build a different way of being in the territory, it was important to work with fragmentation, but in the same time trying to connect these fragments together. So this is the plan. You can see everything inside, and maybe just a few questions or themes that we worked upon when we worked on the competition was, for example, this one, which is about multitudes. The first phrase of Tony Negri, the many as many and not as a group, which reflects well the way we thought of the cemetery and different patterns of burial that we actually drawn for example, a Muslim that wants to be buried in a coffin near his wife, maybe, which is Swedish and can be in a urn just nearby, or let's say to find a way for the people that have complex identities today to be buried in a nice way. Fragmentation, we talked a lot about it. Convexity, the round road, and yes, just pass. This is a plan or a possible image for 100 years from now, for a final field cemetery. And maybe this image, first this painting of Richter, which we liked a lot, which was painted in Jerusalem, and it's actually the Mountain of Olives, which is a very big cemetery. And the relation, when you look at this painting, which is very big, that you have with the space, with the sky, and the relation between the sky and the cemetery, is something which was very interesting for us. So we just reproduced the same mechanism to just represent the insertion of the cemetery.
The last one is a project of architecture in Anglet. Anglet is in the south of Bordeaux. So we work a lot on the west coast. So for us, architecture is different from urbanism in the way that there is one parcel, one program, and also one client. For this project, the client asked us to replace 2 pavilions by 45 buildings. So for us, at the beginning, it seems to be really a challenge to do that, because the French regulation doesn't allow us to do obviously we want in terms of density. And also the context was very delicate, because all around the parcel there are just a lot of pavilions and very qualitative housing. Just a reference, we thought about it to start the project. It's a reference drawing from the Picania office. We like this drawing because they have to design a house, the Dragon Lily house, which is quite nice house because you have some intimate room, and in the middle is the common space. And in order to make the drawings works, they design all the neighborhood plan, floor plan. You can see the neighbors on the top left with the tatami, and we felt that it was very interesting to work in this way. We developed 4 thematics. The first is an equation about regulation. The second is about small apartments. The third is, and we start to draw all the qualities, all of the neighbors, like the solar exposition, also with the pool, also with the terrace, and to go deeper in this question. Because it's not really easy to replace 2 million by 45 housing, and the question is how to create delicacy between each other, between the collective in the middle and the other neighbors. This is a drawing sketch from Nico Inu, like a lot also. And the last point was that in Anglet we observed that all the collective housing are connected with parks, public or private parks. You can see the number. The number is the number of the pavilion or slab or something like that. And by chance, in our parcel on the back, there are a sort of park with a castle. So this is the project. We made some tests, but we chose the project that answered the better to the 4 thematics. It was really important for us because we think that it works. The shape of the building seems very strange when we were also astonished by this shape. But at the end it's quite rational. And in fact it's like a very long slab with a lot of dwellings, starting from the street in direction to the park, and with a turn on itself at the end. And we produced this last picture at the end in order to say that finally the painting disappeared in the city. We hope so. Thank you.
And if there is something you really would like to do, that's a good one.
When you work in France, you have to be 50 years old and join your office for 20 years to work in Paris. In the city of Paris. No, it's, I don't know. Of course, we live in Paris for a long time now. We have our office there. We would like to work in Paris. We have a small project now, more research than project, in the Greater Paris perimeter. We would like to work on Paris, yes. We already worked in other offices, also on the Grand Paris project. If we have ideas for Grand Paris, no. No one can say. No, it's, yeah, I don't know, it depends.
I have another question. In terms of for presentation. Is it something that it goes on with the project, it develops with the project, or is it something that comes in the end once you have a sort of solution? Do you build it?
Now, each project, we try that each project has to define the style. And we never draw something else at the end, but we always start to draw something and to follow this attitude, but with the drawing. But we like the fact that we draw very different way at the office. Some people are more or less abstract, more or less technique in terms of design.
Yeah, I don't know, but let's say for the moment, we actually use the drawings we do in the beginning until the end. So it's important for us to find some kind of efficacy, efficiency, and to yeah, we don't rework them. It's kind of we try to use what we do very simply. Of course, you didn't see all the drawings, and much of them are maybe not too nice. But
we didn't discuss the aesthetic of the drawings. It's not alone. No, but it's not. We prefer to discuss about the content and how the content allows to draw, and not the inverse.
Most of the time, in the beginning, we have some kind of maybe intuition in terms of drawing, which become a part of the methodology, and afterwards, let's say the project, it resembles a little bit to this. So we try in each project to, let's say, to understand, represent the questions which are specific to each territory, and they become in a way, the language of the vocabulary of the project afterwards.
Now, for instance, in order to explain this drawing, the 50,000 housing it's impossible to think about it. What is it? And also it's a very complex question. So we decided to draw with intuition, but in a very minimalist way, also to try to be precise and not to have not so much drawing for this project.
For example, maybe just to speak about another drawing. This one, in which there is some kind of manipulation, because this is actually a very technical drawing. It's Google Maps, and afterwards in technical, so just retrace the city, the water, all that is existing, and afterwards they are just put together on the global ocean, which is kind of an abstract ground figure. And this relation between the existing, which is strange forms, half natural, half urbanization, half all that, which is just a kind of copy-paste, which is just put in some kind of problematics, is something which is important for us.
Basta?
Basta.
Ok.